Hey again, we're reading Chapter 6 of The Alien Annihilators. The plan. When Cleo got back to Kenneth's house, she had with her one of the things Kenneth claimed to need for his plan, a megaphone. She'd been a little skeptical about the plan at first, but the more he'd explained it, the more it began to make sense. Cleo went into Kenneth's room and was pleasantly surprised to see Kenneth had everything else ready. One large full-body mirror and two hand mirrors. Kenneth stood when Cleo opened the door. "Cleo, you're back," he said, then looked down. "So there it is, the megaphone. Excellent. This will be a crucial instrument in our plan. So now that everything's ready, can we just have a little refresher on the plan, just in case you forgot something?" Cleo asked. "Of course. It'll involve some risk, but I believe if everything goes according to plan, we'll have ourselves an alien prisoner. As the oppression to the alien regime, we will need a prisoner who can leak important details about the aliens' plan to us, and maybe some information regarding what the aliens' weaknesses are." "But that's just it, isn't it?" Cleo said. "We don't know their weaknesses, which means we don't know if redirecting their signals back at them will have any effect at all." "That's true," Kenneth said. "However, what was it that happened when the alien from hundreds of years ago applied an increasingly strong signal directed at the man holding the mirror?" Cleo thought about that. The mirror couldn't stay intact, from all the pressure being applied to it, from the signals the alien was sending, so it split into many, many fragments. "Exactly. So while I definitely don't believe we'll split the alien into many fragments, I do believe that the waves sent towards it will be strong enough to hopefully shake its entire being violently." Kenneth glanced at the circle of rope lying on his bed. "Best case scenario, it will collapse on the ground from its own signals, hitting it in terrible waves. That will be my chance to tie up its hands and you its feet," he said, then explained. "We'll need the both of us working together so to have that darn thing tied up as quickly as possible." Cleo nodded agreement. "You think there's some way we can practice the whole plan, master it or something?" Cle- Kenneth thought about that. "Yeah, that makes sense. If we can have everything set up in my backyard soon, we can start practice immediately afterwards." Cleo liked the sound of that, then had a thought. "Wait, in your backyard? Is that where we're gonna try to capture Selena? How will we get her there in the first place?" "Oh no, we won't actually be capturing her in my backyard," he amended. "When the time is right, and we've practiced long and hard enough, we're rushing everything to her backyard secretly and doing the deed there instead." Chapter 7. The Practicing. 1 week later. The more Cleo practiced the plan, the more confident she began to feel about it. What they did was, on the count of three, they would act like Selena was using the full capacity of her powers to try to possess their minds. Cleo and Kenneth would use their hand mirrors to redirect her signals towards a large mirror they had set in the backyard. In front of the mirror, duct taped to the stool in front of the mirror, was a megaphone. When Kenneth redirected the alien signal to Cleo's mirror, which would be aimed at the larger mirror would in turn direct the signals into the megaphone lying directly in front of it. The megaphone has the ability to contain the signals the alien shoots out, Kenneth had explained. If we can collect enough of its special signals, we will then have enough charge within the megaphone to shoot at the alien, weaken it to a state in which we can tie it up. Kenneth and Cleo were seated on the bottom step of his porch in his backyard. It was 7 p.m. They'd practiced the plan every day for the past week, going over the practicalities of the plan, as well as brainstorming all the possible ways in which the plan could fail. "So," Kenneth said nervously, "tonight's really the night. Everything we've done for the last week, the training, the planning, and the scheming, It has all led to this moment. Yeah, Cleo said, a fearful knot in her stomach. Can you believe we're crazy enough to do this? I mean, there's no telling what sort of secret powers this alien has, she thought, then added, well, other than possessing our minds and making us lose control of ourselves. We both knew the task would be dangerous, but think of it this way. The longer we wait, the longer Selena has to practice her ability to control minds. Cleo nodded, and from what we can gather, she's not so good at it. At least not yet. Your mentality, when she had control of you, she giggled a little. Kenneth smiled. I must have been pretty dumb. Kenneth got a little more serious, but that just means she's in the beginning stages of mind possession. She is only now learning the ins and outs of the human mind, which I can only assume means the strength of her signals are weak. That means minimal risk that we'll get possessed, and maximum chance we'll stay sane long enough to grab that megaphone and give the bitch the full blast. Yeah, she said thoughtfully. We just gotta get all this stuff to her house, to her backyard, and do that thing we've rehearsed oh so many times. Kenneth nodded. If we're lucky, we can get the mirror, the stool, and the megaphone into the back without causing much noise. Then we'll just have to take our little hand mirrors with us, and we're pretty much set. Cleo looked at her watch, which read 9 p.m. Oh my gosh, 9 p.m. It's actually time. God, I am so nervous. Kenneth could tell tears were gonna come out of Cleo's eyes, and it tore at his heart to see her in this state. Kenneth had never really had the need to comfort someone before, but now he felt the need to do so for her sake. Kenneth wrapped an arm around Cleo's neck and allowed her to sob silently into his shoulder for a few moments. He wished he could do it himself, put the weight of it all onto his shoulders alone, but the truth was he needed her, not only for her contribution in directing signals to the large mirror, he needed her for her brilliance, the way she could encourage him to think critically about his plan and consider all the possible ways it could go wrong. He was also sure that were the plan to end disastrously, she'd be able to fix things, turn everything around for the better. Kenneth wanted to say something to comfort her, but Cleo stood up, wiped her tears away with the back of her hand, and said, I'm ready. If we're fast, we can have everything in place by 10 p.m. So it's time, boys. They're gonna go to Selena's house, and we're gonna see if this plan works out. Chapter 8, Setting Up. Luckily, they were able to get everything into Selena's house in a single trip. Really, all they needed was a large mirror, the two smaller mirrors, the megaphone, a wooden stool, and 2 pieces of rope, the ones they were to tie Selena's arms and feet with. Kenneth and Cleo were in the dark shadow of the house next to Selena's house, all their equipment with them. Kenneth could see that there was a wooden gate that led to the backyard. We've made it, and with all our equipment in tow, Kenneth whispered. We just have to sneak through that gate quietly and set everything up, which shouldn't take long. Okay, let's go, Cleo said back, and they both made their way silently to the wooden fence Kenneth had indicated. He lifted the metal latch on the gate and pushed it open slowly. They walked in and busied themselves setting everything up. Kenneth leaned the large mirror up against the fence, while Cleo placed a wooden stool in front of it, taping the megaphone to it in the process. When they were done, Kenneth indicated the small hand mirrors on the ground. We have to make sure we are in a good position to direct Selena's signals towards the large mirror. When the small light on the megaphone flashes green, we'll know that the device is fully charged. When it is, we'll know that our chances of subduing the thing will be optimal. Cleo nodded. I suppose that means we have to be on opposite ends of the yard. See? If the signals hit your mirror at a diagonal angle, you'll need to redirect this energy straight to my mirror, which will be pointed directly at the large mirror. Kenneth nodded. Let's get into position. And so they took station on opposite sides of the yard, Cleo on the left side, Kenneth on the right. So this is it, Kenneth thought. The next few minutes could mean victory for them or certain defeat. Kenneth was really hoping everything would go smoothly, or at least without any fatal wounds. He looked towards Cleo across the yard, and she nodded. So Kenneth put 2 fingers to his lips and whistled as loud as he possibly could. Chapter 9: The Plan in Practice. Cleo and Kenneth watched the back door of Selena's house, which they had been doing in silence for probably 2 minutes, but it felt like forever for Cleo. Unluckily for them, Cleo and Kenneth were positioned quite far away, so if they wanted to make silent comments to each other, well, they couldn't, so neither could complain about how long it was taking Selena to come out. Eventually a light came on in the house, and it lit up in the small window on the back door. Eventually the door opened as well, and Selena walked a step out. She saw Kenneth in the distance, smiled, and waved at him. Kenneth, is that you? Funny to see you out so late, not to mention within my own backyard. How are you, friend? Selena asked. Selena was acting so friendly right now. Kenneth almost believed that she was an actual human, but Kenneth remembered what he'd learned. Once they gained experience controlling the human mind, they were then able to use their shape-shifting abilities to mimic the look and behavior of actual humans. Kenneth remembered their plan. They needed Selena to attempt to possess his mind, so he could redirect the signals to Cleo, who would then direct the signals to the large mirror, which will give the megaphone the charge it needs to stun Selena, so they could tie her up. So, the best way Kenneth could think to do this was to agitate Selena so badly she'll want to possess his mind. What she'd make him do, he was unsure, but he just needed her to at least attempt it for his plan to work. Selena, I'm doing well. No thanks to you, you mind-controlling freak. Selena feigned surprise, but Kenneth could tell she was hiding a wicked grin. What are you talking about? I would never do that. I'm about as innocent as they come. You can't fool me, Selena. I've heard about your type. You're some sort of alien, and your species dwells on this earth. You have some ultimate wicked plan, and I want to put that plan to an end, one alien at a time. Selena laughed a malicious laugh. So you know, don't you? I was hoping my suspicions weren't correct, but I suppose they were. Well, no matter, I'll just possess your mind and stop you from revealing my species to anyone. Selena made some quick signs with her hands, and Kenneth immediately knew this must be the gestures aliens used to capture the minds of humans. He quickly raised his mirror to his head, right before what looked like a green streak of light came at full force towards him. The streak hit the mirror, and Selena kept it coming, willing the green light to break the mirror, so she could set up the connection with his mind and her own. After just a few seconds, Kenneth heard his mirror crack, and he feared the worst. It would be in pieces before there was enough charge in the mirror to send the signals all the way to Cleo across the yard. However, just as the mirror was about to split into shards and fall to the ground, Kenneth saw the same streak of light blast towards the direction in which she had been holding the mirror, towards Cleo. Cleo had witnessed everything, and she was ready. The light hit her mirror so hard that she fell onto her bottom, the mirror flying out of her hands. Luckily, the streak of light had already connected with the mirror and was sent into the large mirror propped up against the wooden fence. The light hit the mirror and bounced off onto the megaphone that lay in front of it. The megaphone was now surrounded in a greenish hue, which Cleo took to mean it was ready to be used. She didn't waste a second. She got up and sprinted towards the megaphone. Selena realized what had happened. Her powers were about to be used against her, but she also realized that, with Kenneth's mirror broken, he no longer had any means of protecting himself, which meant Cleo now had the megaphone and was about to aim it towards Selena when she heard Selena say, "Stop." Cleo looked up towards the voice, and the sight she saw horrified her. Kenneth was levitating off the ground, and he was encased in that greenish light. Selena had already taken Kenneth hostage. Chapter 10: Otherworldly Affairs. Cleo still had her megaphone gun trained on Selena. She had no intention of pulling the trigger and risk killing Kenneth, but she didn't know what else to do. "Put the gun down," Selena said calmly, "or your friend dies." Cleo considered her options quickly. On the one hand, if she shot Selena with the megaphone, she might stun her immediately. She would just have to quickly catch Kenneth before he hit the ground. It's possible that the power won't be enough to stun her, and that she'll simply kill Kenneth if I piss her off, Cleo thought. On this thought, Cleo decided to stop pointing the weapon at Selena, instead raising it over her head, alongside both arms. Selena smiled without warmth. "Smart girl. My powers are such that I can give your friend a near instantaneous death." Selena got serious. "Now put your weapon on the ground. I need to vaporize it." Cleo didn't like the sound of that. All their hard work, their planning and preparing, would all have been for nothing if Selena were allowed to destroy it. But it would be no use to them if Selena killed them both then and there. So Cleo placed the weapon on the ground, and Selena delivered on vaporizing the thing. "Good, glad that's out of the way. You humans and your brilliant ideas," she said sarcastically. "Now come inside, we have much to discuss." Cleo followed Selena into the house, afraid where this was headed. She had a suspicion this was related to some evil scheme she had in mind, and perhaps wanted her as one of her pawns. They got seated at a circular wooden kitchen table. "So tell me, Cleo," Selena said, "what is it that you know of my species? I know that you scumbags use humans to unlock some kind of dormant power within yourselves. For what exactly? I don't know. Maybe world domination." Selena smiled. "And perhaps you have knowledge on how this power has been used in the past." "Yes. Centuries ago, one of your ancestors used the power to attempt world domination," Cleo said. "Yes. My lord was able to unlock the full potential of a human's mind. Doing so helped him unlock the dormant powers in his alien form, the power capable of laying entire nations to waste. However, the man adopted a strategy quite similar to the one you attempted to use on me. He would attempt to redirect the signals back to him in an attempt to stun him. Each day the man would find time to fill up his megaphone full of the signals the alien would use to possess him. It was a painfully slow process, for the man had to keep it out of sight to avoid creating suspicion. One day the man had decided that the power meter was full enough. He shot the alien with it and stunned him immediately, thus breaking its possession of him. Cleo found this all interesting. I've heard about this man, but never got the full story. So what happened to the alien? What did the man do after he stunned it? I would tell you, but I'm afraid you may be able to exploit it against my species. So I'll only tell you that the man weakened my lord terribly, to such an awful state that his body is withered, and he clings to life by a thread, his soul barely clinging to the body. Like a child, us aliens have taken him under our wing over the years, knowing the great potential that lays dormant within him. We feed him and provide all things that sustain his life, and yet this does nothing to bring him back to his healthy, powerful self. Cleo was beginning to understand what was going on. Selena needed Cleo to do some dirty work, to help resurrect her lord, as she called him. So you need me to help resurrect your master. How do I do that? Cleo asked. An ancient artifact of legend, the Orb of Power, has the ability to grant new life to the alien who lays its hands on it. It lays within a temple in a planet far away, and only the essence of a human can open its impenetrable front doors. Cleo gulped. Traveling to a planet far away, granting new life to an evil, power-crazy alien? You want me to doom my entire species, is that it? Yes, and I hope you care about your dear friend Kenneth, because if you refuse to help him, he will be dead before you draw your next breath. So you will do exactly as I say. The thought of being responsible for Kenneth's death did not appeal to her, and neither did potentially being responsible for the doom and destruction of planet Earth. She came to a decision. She would play along with Selena's master plan, but only because she had secret plans of her own. Selena had mentioned that the man who weakened her master had used some kind of secret weapon to weaken him to such a state that he couldn't even so much as feed himself every day. If I were to bring Selena to such a state, Cleo thought, then maybe I can stop her before she can grant her master new life. Cleo sighed, feigning defeat. Very well. I suppose you must have some sort of UFO that can take us to this faraway planet. Selena smiled. I guess the movies have one thing right about us. We will set off first thing in the morning. It's late, and I'm sure you need your sleep. So right now, we're up to chapter 11, and right now, Cleo gotta help out Selena on this quest to get this orb of power to resurrect her master, or she's gonna kill Kenneth. And so Selena feels pressured to do it, but she also knows that there's some kind of secret to defeating the aliens, and she feels like if she can just play along with Selena and acting like she's on her side, then she can like get this information out of her or out of someone else that's working for her. And thank y'all so much for listening and supporting this book before it becomes a multi-million international bestseller. Thank y'all so much. And remember to subscribe. And if y'all want me to keep reading this, remember to show your support in the comments. And that's it for the video. Thank y'all for listening. and goodbye.